Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're curious about the afterword, what happens after as far as my childbirth experience or my thought on birthing. What has it changed from in the first, with my first child because of my care team? I wanted to write that, but most importantly, this part is because I wanted my second daughter to also have her story written, even though it's such a short, quickly wrapped up story. I wanted her to have her story recorded as well. So that's why I wrote the afterword, but also I think it answers some lingering questions potentially. And wow, thanks for being here and making it through the whole book. If you just stumbled upon this and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I've been reading my memoir, Rebirth, chapter by chapter. So I strongly encourage you to go back to the beginning before listening here so that you are listening to the story kind of in more sequence. So I'm reading the afterword now. It's sometimes called an epilogue. I'm not sure what I'll name it yet. After experiencing childbirth firsthand, I truly believe it can be a beautiful and empowering experience, exactly as it is meant to be. But this requires a supportive team, one that truly knows you, your strengths, your fears, your desires, a team that listens and fearlessly advocates for you. I thought that by choosing midwives, I would automatically have that kind of support. I met with them regularly to talk about home birth, ask questions, and share our values. But midwifery care is not uniform. While I didn't realize the importance of this at the time, I now urge anyone seeking a midwife to look for a clinic with seasoned professionals, ideally someone who has experienced childbirth themselves. That kind of understanding cannot come from textbooks. It has to be lived. When I went into labor with Evelyn, I felt no fear. I trusted the process, trusted that my body was ready and capable, trusted my team, and trusted my instincts to love, protect, and care for my baby. But when I needed support and didn't receive it, I realized how vulnerable a birthing woman truly is at the mercy of those around her. That vulnerability doesn't end at birth. If your baby is taken from you, you're powerless to protect them. The feeling is unbearable. So when I became pregnant again, my lingering fear wasn't of the pain. It was about not being able to count on the support I thought I had. How could I trust the process again, knowing how little control I truly had, knowing that I might not be able to protect my child from others imposing their will on us? If your first birth was difficult, I want to reassure you, every birth is different. 2.5 years later, I found the right midwifery team, experienced, grounded, and most importantly, supportive. Despite my lingering fears and my resistance to trusting too easily, they met me with confidence, flexibility, and kindness. I'll be forever grateful for their unwavering support. Matto and I had talked many times about the possibility of another awakening after the birth of our second child. My hope was that this time he could see past appearances, that he wouldn't be swept into other people's narratives. At 40 weeks, I drove myself to what would be my final checkup in Matto's father's old rugged pickup truck. It was loud and bouncy, a fun ride with an engorged belly. The midwife greeted me in the waiting area. As we walked down the hall to her office, I braced myself. What was that? She asked. Nothing, I said. I drove in my father-in-law's truck. It was pretty bouncy. I think it's excited the baby. Oh, she said. As I had at every visit, I reminded her of my need for a catheter if I wasn't able to empty my bladder on my own again. Here, she said, handing me one. Take it with you just in case. I was grateful she took me seriously. Before I left, I felt a familiar pressure and breathed through it. Probably just the ride. I walked back to the truck feeling lighter, catheter in hand. At home, I pulled up to the curb and leaned back in the seat, breathing through another wave of pressure. I started making dinner, then suddenly had the strange urge to bake. The pressure returned. I breathed through it. Not a big deal. Then something in me moved. I walked to the bottom of the stairs and called out, I don't know what's happening, but I need you to fill the birthing tub right now. Now? Mato asked. Yes, right now. We'd bought a birthing tub this time, knowing our bathtub was too shallow to fully submerge my belly. During the test run, we'd run out of hot water before it was filled, so we'd learned to boil extra water on the stove to make it work. At 4:30, I called the midwife. Nothing to worry about, I said. I just wanted to let you know I think labor might be starting. Okay, she said. Let me just listen to your breathing through the next contraction. I leaned on the counter, breathing through the phone. I'm coming right over, she said, and hung up. I laughed. She was overreacting. These midwives were so much more cautious than those at the first clinic. It was almost funny, but still, something in her voice lingered. The tub hadn't fully filled when I stepped in. I haven't added the hot water from the stove yet, Mato said. I don't care, I told him. I need to get in now. The cold water felt sharp, but refreshing, and then the contractions hit hard. I don't think I can do this. What do you mean? Of course you can, Mato said. Labor just started. No, this is way too intense. Evelyn stood beside the tub, holding one of my hands. Mato held the other. You can do this, he said, but I wasn't so sure. My body felt like it was being dragged by a freight train, convulsing under the weight of each contraction. I don't think the tub's doing anything, I said, standing up. The air hit me like a wall. I crouched back down immediately. The pain above water was much worse. At least now I knew the tub worked. The weightlessness let me move freely. I twisted, contorted, anything to ease the pain. The first midwife arrived at 5 p.m. and rushed to the back room. Oh, the water's too cold, she said, after submerging her left hand. I didn't care, but Mato poured in the boiling water to warm it for the baby. The tub was filled too high. When the midwife leaned on the edge, water spilled over onto the floor. I can't reach you in the tub, she said. You'll have to come out. No, I said, you're going to have to figure it out. I need to stay in here. I stood my ground. I believed deeply that she needed to adjust to me, not the other way around. She tilted her head, the pressure rising in her face, but she complied. She reached in, flinching as the overflow soaked her front. I turned, leaning on the back wall of the tub, pushing my hips forward towards her so she could see. The umbilical cord is wrapped around her throat, she said, her voice suddenly urgent. You have to push her out now. I pushed hard. Something popped. Amniotic fluid bled into the water in cloudy ribbons, denser than water, drifting like smoke. That's good, she said. Do that again. I pushed again. Mia slipped into the water. The midwife lifted her out, her belly resting on the palm of her hand, her head slumped, her body limp and purple, eyes shut, breathless. I stood up. Baby, 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 I said, jumping in place, afraid to interfere. The midwife gently stroked her back, coaxing her to life. And then Mia cried. Relief cracked through me. I snatched her into my arms, feeling overwhelmed. You need to come out of the tub now, she said. This time I listened. I lay on the kitchen floor, on towels Mato had spread out. Someone placed another towel over me for warmth. Mia curled against my chest as the placenta delivered naturally. Evelyn sang softly, Happy birthday to you. We cheered her and joined her. Then the stove timer went off. Dinner was ready. Mia weighed 8 pounds, 9 ounces. The midwife had been right to come straight over. Mia was born just 12 minutes after she arrived at 5:12 p.m. I knew you were in labor, she said, but you seemed to be in denial. She was right. I had no idea. Every contraction, every time I leaned over to breathe, even when I told Mato to fill the tub, I didn't recognize what was happening. I only knew what needed to be done. The following days were peaceful, even with the usual newborn chaos. You might think a short labor sounds wonderful, and if that's the case, I haven't conveyed how intense it was. The body still has to do the same amount of work, whether over 20 hours or 30 minutes. At 20 hours, in many ways, is much easier. People say I must not remember how hard the first labor was. Maybe, but I remember my first words after each birth, and those say everything. After Evelyn, I said, wow, let's do it again. After Mia, I said, whoa, I'm glad I don't have to do that again. That says it all. My daughters are now 7 and 9, 14 and 17 by the time this book went to print. I'm proud to share their birth stories, each unique as all of ours are. That's part of the magic of birth. If you're preparing for your own, my wish isn't for perfection, but that you receive exactly what you need from the experience. Much love. And that is the end of the afterword or epilogue. Thank you again for being here. We did it. We read through it, the whole thing. I realize it takes a lot of commitment on your part to listen to somebody else's story all the way through. I'm very, 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 very grateful. You see, I repeated that. Yeah. Very grateful that you listened in all the way. And thank you for everyone who's messaged me, sent me questions, which I will answer in a Q&A. I'm not sure 100% when, in the next week or two, I'll be doing the Q&A and I will answer every question. And thank you to everyone who sent me feedback along the way. Let me know that you're here. And again, if you haven't, make sure you like and share this video. Thank you for everyone who's encouraged me. This took a long time to write. My writing group has listened to this story over and over again, and I'm so glad it is written. It was worth it. Thank you so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day.